Now, Eric is the Chief of Police in Prineville and also recently promoted to Brigadier General?
Yes, that's correct.
Well, first of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
And we do, as our custom, we say thank you for your service to your country. It's appreciated.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
How many tours have you served overseas?
I've served one tour overseas in Iraq.
And is a possibility you might go back again?
Well, there's always a possibility, as long as you're actively serving, that you could be deployed overseas to support the United States and the Constitution and the President. Right now, we currently aren't in the queue, so to speak, our brigade, to redeploy anytime soon. But we do have, a standard format for training and being available to deploy in the future.
I know the community really wants to reach out and help the men and women who are serving overseas. Some of them just returned. I believe about 17 or 18 just returned to the Redmond Airport the other day.
Yes.
What can we do as the community to reach out and help these young men and women?
Well, one of the challenges that soldiers have returning from combat theater, having been deployed for more than a year, they've been away from their families, away from their civilian employers, and so that reintegration process sometimes can be very challenging for some, and understandably so. You're going from one completely different environment back into another. And there's a lot of little things that go on that create points of friction for those soldiers as they return, and their families and their employers. And so the biggest thing I think that you can do for those folks is just have some understanding that those points of friction are going to exist, and be willing to accommodate those things as those soldiers return, because it will take them some time to reintegrate and get back into the civilian mode or lifestyle.
Now, a lot of people I talk to on the street say, Dave, I would really like to show these people I support them, but they don't know what to say. And in areas, they want to be sensitive to areas that they really don't want to press into, like what was it like, to pull the trigger or something like that. They want to really be supportive, but as often the case, people just don't know what to say. What advice would you give them?
Well, I think that I wouldn't be overly concerned with offending anybody, offending a soldier. I think a lot of people, my own experiences have thanked me for my service, and there's kind of a crossroad between pride and humility for a soldier that returns, and it's almost a confusing moment for a soldier, but soldiers really do appreciate that, those gestures of appreciation for what they're doing and their sacrifice. And the sacrifices I think we associate with actually being in combat or being in a combat zone, but it's just as much of a sacrifice being away from the family, and that family really sacrifices a lot too. So it's very important, I think, that the family of that soldier, the spouse, the children, are recognized for their sacrifice, because they're giving up their father, their son, their daughter, and their mother for 12, 14, 18 months.
One of the things that has been told to me that is a real challenge right now is the continued redeployments, third, fourth, some cases fifth tours of duty. And that's difficult on the family, difficult on the soldier, where they really don't see any end in sight. That's a hard one, isn't it?
Well, sure it is. It's a different world we live in today. The reserve component, particularly the National Guard, traditionally was always what we called a strategic reserve. In other words, if we had a World War III scenario, everybody was mobilized, kind of similar to World War II.
Or flood or earthquake.
Or flood or earthquake back home, and the National Guard forces would be mobilized at that point to deploy overseas, regarding overseas deployments. What we've learned is the National Guard has become what we call an operational force. In other words, these operations, Operation Iraqi Freedom, Operation Enduring Freedom in Afghanistan, the active component cannot do it on its own. They've had to rely on the reserve component, particularly the National Guard, to send combat forces over to do the job alongside them. And frankly, from a cost standpoint, particularly in this economy, the National Guard, the reserve component, provides a tremendous value for the taxpayer. We provide the same force for about 40% of the cost of the active duty counterpart, and we do the exact same job, have the exact same standards.
Let's talk about you for just a little bit. Brigadier General, how has that changed what you do? How has that changed your life?
Well, I'm still figuring that out.
Okay.
It's really quite an honor to be asked to serve at this level. It's something that, frankly, I never envisioned I would ever achieve. I enlisted in the Army National Guard at 18 years old when I was looking for something just a little more challenging than the career field I was pursuing in community college. And it just kind of progressed from there. And every time I was presented with a challenge, I just took it on and did the best job I could, always trying to focus on the job at hand. And here I am today. It's certainly I think there's a certain burden and responsibility of attaining this rank. Leading over 6,000, 6,500 soldiers in the state of Oregon is a big responsibility, and I'm committed to living up to that.
Was this something that you sought, or did they just phone ring and said, "By the way, Eric, we're going to promote you to Brigadier General"?
Well, a little bit of both. It really, throughout my almost 27 years now in the National Guard, it's certainly something I never sought, so to speak. Again, I really tried to focus on the job at hand. Although when I was asked to go to the next qualification school, or the next school that I knew would put me in the queue, so to speak, or make me eligible potentially for promotion in the future, I accepted that challenge. And then one day the phone did ring and said, "What do you think? We're going to submit your application." And it's hard to maybe it's not that hard to understand, but you just don't say no to something like that when somebody asks you, thinks that much of your performance over the years, and asks you to serve at that level. There was no way I could say no. I felt I owed it to the organization. I felt I owed it to the people of the state of Oregon and my country.
One of the things that I've talked to returning guardsmen and members of the armed services that have served overseas and come back is they said, Dave, I wish there would be more attention paid to the really good humanitarian things we're doing, like building water supplies, and the media tends to focus on more of the combat-oriented stuff. But they're helping rebuild lives and infrastructure and so on and so forth, and they would prefer to see a little bit more attention paid to that. Is that kind of some of the feeling from some of the troops, including yourself? Oh,
absolutely. The great things that we're doing over there tend not to make good headline news. For whatever reason. And unfortunate but true. We did some phenomenal work over there that almost never reported on. We had several situations where we brought different major leaders in the Iraqi government, Iraqi military together who previously weren't talking to each other, and by the time we left, they were working hand in hand, and that made us feel real good about leaving Iraq and leaving it in capable hands that we knew would provide a stable government for that country in the future.
Biggest challenge over there is those IEDs, isn't it?
It has been in the past, yes.
Yeah. It continues to be so?
I haven't been in theater for about a year, but certainly, the risk of improvised explosive devices has been really the source of the majority of the casualties in Iraq and probably Afghanistan as well. I think that the government and the military, DoD in particular, has done a phenomenal job in providing soldiers the equipment, the vehicles to survive those types of attacks. And it's kind of hard to measure what you prevent. But I can assure you that if we hadn't been provided the equipment, that both personally and from a vehicle standpoint, our casualties would have been much, much higher.
As far as you're the chief of police here in Prineville, how long have you been police chief here?
I've been police chief since May 1st, 2003.
And I'm sure your duties and responsibilities and experiences over there have really translated into, improved performance here in Prineville. Not that there was anything wrong before.
Right. Well, that's true, and but it goes both ways. One of the values of the National Guard, and not to try to sell the National Guard, oversell it, but one of the values of the National Guard, and recognized by the active component general officers that I worked for, was the professional civilian experience we bring to the battlefield. my position and my experience as a police chief was a tremendous benefit for my role as the base defense commander of the largest military installation in the Middle East. And the general officers in the active component recognized that. And that was one of the first questions they began to ask me was, how can we do this? How can we do that better from more of a civil affairs type standpoint?
Now, as Brigadier General, are you involved more in the day-to-day operation, or do they just call you up when you are needed?
I'm kind of in between the two. They recognize the fact that I have a tremendous responsibility with my civilian employer, but I am much more involved in the kind of day-to-day, what goes on in the Oregon National Guard. Thank goodness for technology. They give me a BlackBerry, and I get emails all day long and respond very often during the day to different things that are going on.
Okay. Now, without getting political, will we be making a difference over there?
Oh yeah. Well, I don't think that's a political question at all, and absolutely, I think we're making a tremendous difference. It's challenging because you've got to. I think one of the things we were slow to recognize at the onset of Operation Iraqi Freedom was the nuances and the differences in the culture that exist between Western European American culture and the Middle Eastern culture, and it's very complex for somebody who hasn't been exposed to that. Anybody who tells you they're an expert. Anybody from the West who tells you they're an expert on the tribal culture in Afghanistan or Iraq probably isn't. You can spend years over there as a Westerner and still not completely understand it. But I did learn a lot about it, and I came to appreciate the culture and understand how the folks there got to where they're at over the literally thousands of years.
So what I'm hearing here is it's not a good idea for us as Americans over here who've not been exposed to that to be doing a lot of armchair quarterbacking.
It's very challenging unless you understand the complete context.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, there's decisions we make on the ground over there that I think people who haven't had that experience or aren't real familiar with the culture over there might scratch their heads and say, well, why'd they do that? But I will tell you, we are making a difference. Most of the Iraqis that I dealt with wanted the Americans to stay and recognized that we did provide a significant level of security for them.
Okay. Back to a question we asked earlier. If I could just ask a couple more questions about going up and asking men and women, what we can do for them. One of the things that has been said to me is to go up to a serviceman, thank you for your service, like we've done with you this morning, and then, how are you doing? How's everything at home? Is there anything I can help? No, really. How are you doing?
Right.
Is that too much?
Well, it depends on your relationship with the individual. Right. I think if you're just a kind of a passerby on the street, that might be a little too personal. Okay. And I think it would be for anybody. But I think just using common sense, I don't think you'd do anything different than you wouldn't do for a friend. But if you are a friend of a returning soldier, and you would ask that question if you knew that person was maybe having a tough time, or you thought they were, I think it'd be completely appropriate to ask them that. And it's tough. Soldiers tend to rely on people who have similar experiences. And so I would just caution people that, a soldier may not be willing to really open up, at least right away, to somebody who they don't feel has had a shared experience.
Yeah, okay. Good advice. Anything, Eric, you'd like to leave us with?
Well, I just, again, I can't tell you over the last couple of years how much I appreciate the people back home and the outpouring of gratitude that I've seen people give to soldiers who have returned from Iraq and Afghanistan and other places. It means a tremendous amount to the soldiers who serve, and we couldn't be effective and we couldn't keep doing what we're doing without that kind of support.
So the community outpourings of support at the airports and the parades and so on and so forth, which are still occurring, are a good thing.
Sure, yeah, those are great. But I was more specifically talking to just the individual appreciation.
Okay.
Because the parades are great and they're structured events. And we do appreciate those. But when somebody personally really comes to you and says, I really appreciate what you're doing, that really means a lot individually.
Okay. Eric, again, thank you for the service to your country.
All right.
Congratulations
thank
on
you.
The Brigadier General.
Correct.
And is that for a time frame, or is it just ongoing?
Well, it's ongoing, and I'll continue to serve as long as I'm asked to serve. So we'll see how it goes.
Okay. Well, you have a great day,
Okay.
and again, look forward to talking to you again.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
All right.
Thanks for being with us this morning.
All right.
And we have another guest in the studio. Come on over, sir. And give you this microphone.
Are we on yet?
We're on live right now.
Can I read this?
Sure. Now, help me out again. I don't have my notes here. I met you yesterday. Your name is?
Bob Irvin.
Bob Irvin. And you're from Prineville.
I'm from Prineville.
And you have a fundraiser here for Honor Flight.
Eastern Oregon Honor Flight.
Eastern
yes.
Oregon Honor Flight. Now, if you don't know what Honor Flight is, we've talked to Bob Maxwell and Dick Tobiasen about that earlier. It's a program, it's a program that, this explains what Honor Flight is about.
Yes,
isn't it?
that's what I
Okay.
wanted to use.
Bob, go ahead and tell us what Honor Flight's all about.
Okay. I have an article here that I've gotten from Eastern Oregon Honor Flight authorities. And the Honor Flight is, it says almost 90% of World War II veterans who survived World War II have passed away since the war ended 66 years ago. Approximately 1,000 World War II veterans passed away daily across America. Their average age is the late 80s. I am 86. So that gives you some idea of the age of the World War veterans. The object of Eastern Oregon Honor Flight is to take all World War II veterans who apply for Honor Flight and live east of the Cascades to Washington, D.C. as soon as possible. And you can see why, since we're losing 1,000 a day across the United States.
So time's critical.
Time is critical. Your generous donation of $900 will send a World War II veteran to Washington, D.C. All expenses paid. They'll be given a T-shirt, a flag that has flown over the U.S. Capitol, World War II memorial book, and a photo book of their once-in-a-lifetime trip. You can donate in any amount if you wish to donate to Honor Flight. More than 95% of your donation is spent honoring World War II veterans. Please help send a member of the greatest generation to Washington before it's too late. We sincerely appreciate your interest in supporting Honor Flight, and all donations are very much appreciated.
And it's a tax deductible, I believe, isn't it?
It is tax deductible because Honor Flight is a non-profit organization. Honor Flight is managed by Ben Heroes Foundation. And so if you want to donate to Honor Flight, you could send your donation to Honor Flight of Eastern Oregon, 22325 White Plains Drive, Bend, Oregon. Or contact me at Bob Irvin at 541-447-5451. And to assist Honor Flight in doing their project, I am getting up a fundraiser at the, I never think of it.
Carey Hall?
Carey Foster Hall.
Carey Foster Hall.
At the Crook County Fairgrounds. And that Carey Foster Hall is on Lynn Boulevard. We're going to have a outdoor barbecue, a tri-tip, and all the trimmings.
Well, that sounds good.
Yeah, it sounds good. I'm salivating now.
I am too. It's getting, well, it's a few hours to lunch, but I could do with one of those right now.
You bet. And that fundraiser, the barbecue will start at 5 o'clock and go to approximately 6:30. At which time we'll go inside the building, and there'll be some activities in there until 7. Introduce a few dignitaries, and then 7 o'clock we'll have a dance, and the dance will start at 7 and go until 10.
Okay. What's the date again?
And the date is October 15.
Okay.
So it's a ways away, but I wanted to let everybody know it so they make their plans to attend and
put it on your calendar.
Put it on your calendar, and we'll have a good old Western barbecue and a rip-roaring, snorting good time and dance.
That barbecue, that tri-tip, You're making me hungry.
Yeah, I hope so.
Now, as far as Honor Flight, excellent program. We plan on going. I plan on going as a chaperone in Honor Flight in May. We're going to be chronicling the journey and doing some live shows like this from Washington, D.C. and other areas as we have time on the weekend that we go. We're looking forward to that. We support the program, as I know you do. Your hat says Band of Brothers Prineville. You served in the Navy.
Yes, I served in the Navy from 43 to 46.
Okay.
And I am a member of the Band of Brothers, also the Veterans of Foreign Wars.
So you saw activity during World War II?
I saw activity during World War II. Okay. I was at Iwo Jima on D-Day and also Okinawa.
Really?
I saw the flag go up on Mount Sorbachi.
Yeah, you and I did an interview at the air show the other day.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what was that like? Now you went to Honor Flight, and they have a picture of you as one of the promotion materials that where you're pointing at the statue in Washington D.C. Watching it go up, and you actually saw it happen in person.
I saw it happen in person. I was aboard ship. I was on a troop transport, and we were probably anchored with many other ships that were approximately a quarter mile offshore. And I didn't happen to be on duty that day, so I was free to roam around the ship.
Yeah.
I went up on the bridge, and through one of those telescopes, I just happened to look at Mount Sorbachi, and they were raising the flag.
So you actually saw it with your own eyes?
Yes. I was a Navy corpsman, the medics. And,
now, the Marines took quite a beating on Iwo Jima.
Oh, they took a terrific beating. We got, I was on a troop transport that took part of the 5th Marine Division in there.
Yeah.
And after they hit the shore, it wasn't long till we started getting casualties back aboard our ship to take care of them.
Yeah.
And we did that for, 5 days from D-Day. The main hospital ship, Hope, come into the harbor there, and we had to then transfer the patients that we had to the big hospital ship.
Yeah.
So it was quite a beating.
We appreciate the sacrifice they made. And
oh, we certainly do, yeah. And even though I was in there, the Marines took more of a beating than I did.
But you were there to help. Now,
I was there to help.
What was, as you were looking through the telescope on the bridge, looking at the flag going up on Mount Sorbachi, that day, what was going through your mind?
Well, I knew that we had taken the mountain, and that end of the island supposedly was secured. And I felt, it's hard to explain what you felt for what the Marines went through.
Yeah.
But I felt fortunate that I was still aboard ship and still in one piece, so to speak.
Interesting that event has become very iconic in American military. The raising of the flag has become just a figurehead of the fight for liberty and the fight for freedom.
Yeah, there was nothing that would stop us. We had to have that island because the B-29s could not go from, say, Saipan to Tokyo, and after Okinawa, Tokyo or Japan proper was to be our next invasion.
Yeah,
we were all hoping we didn't have to go through that, and we didn't, as it turned out. But the B-29s wanted to bomb Tokyo, of course. In preparation for the invasion there, and they couldn't make the range from Saipan to Tokyo or to Japan, so we had to take Iwo Jima because there was a landing strip on Iwo Jima that they could use en route.
And so the Japanese obviously knew that and didn't want you to have it.
Oh, definitely, they didn't want us to have that.
So let's fast forward a little bit. Now in Washington D.C., you went on Honor Flight.
No, I'm going.
You did not. Oh, you're going.
I'm going the 22nd of September this month.
All right.
And so we'll be going then and seeing the sights back there and get to visit, of course, the Iwo Jima Memorial and the World War II Memorial, and we get a tour through the White House. And
looking forward to that?
I'm looking forward to that.
Have you ever been to D.C.?
Never been there.
Okay.
No. So it's going to be a great trip for not only myself, but I think there's 24, if I remember right, there's 24 veterans going on this flight with me. And there's actually 2 flights that's leaving that day about 45 minutes apart.
Right.
So there's about 124 people, I think, going on those 2 flights back there.
How important is the honor flight program?
Oh, I think it's extremely important, and for any World War II veteran that wants to go back there, 'cause like I said, all expenses are paid, you know, and you wouldn't have to take a penny with you. It's all paid for.
But I think its honor flight program is very important because it's often been called the world's greatest generation. They saved the planet from being taken over by the evil empire with Axis and the Nazis and so on and so forth.
That's
and
right.
They stopped that, and they paid a dear price to do that. And so the honor flight program allows people such as yourself who answer the call to go back and see the monuments that the nation has erected in your honor.
Right. They finally got that finished, so we're going to get to go back there and see that now.
Okay. And we're looking for, I wish we could go in October. We've got a trip to New Zealand in November, and so we were asked to go, and we simply couldn't
connect with it.
Well, the timing wasn't good.
Yeah.
But in May, we're very much looking forward to going back and taking the show on the road and chronicling the journey and being a part of the program. Honor Flight program is a great program. Let's say once again the time and date for your fundraiser.
Well, the time for the fundraiser to assist Honor Flight in their project is October 15th. And it starts at, barbecue starts at 5 in the evening, and it'll go to approximately 6:30. And then at 7 o'clock, we'll start the dance inside the hall. And we have the Oregon Old Time Fiddlers Association playing for the dance. Also, Riders in the Dirt, which is also a all-lady band. And they're great. They make great music. So
Riders in the Dirt.
Riders in the Dirt.
Okay.
Where that name come from, I don't know, but that is their name, and we can't hardly wait to hear them, and also the fiddlers and all from the Oregon Old Time Fiddlers.
Sounds like fun. Boy, I can't wait for that. Some of that tri-tip.
Should be a good one, and like you said, with the tri-tip and baked potatoes and corn and all that. Corn is kind of up in the air because we're not sure we can get corn in October.
Yeah.
But we're going to try to get it anyway, and coleslaw and all the trimmings and one thing and another. So.
And it's to a good cause. It's the Crook County Fairgrounds.
Crook County Fairgrounds at the Kerry Foster Hall.
Okay. Bob, well, thank you very much for the service to your country, and thank you for all who serve. Words can't express how we as a nation feel for you and others who are willing to put on the uniform and answer the call to protect the cause of those that are oppressed and those who, and often in many cases, don't know what freedom is all about. But boy, when they get that first taste of it, of being able to make their own decisions and chart their own destiny, it's well worth it. And I know we've paid for that with a lot of blood.
We certainly did, yes.
But as often is said, freedom isn't free.
Freedom is not free. That's absolutely true. We have to be willing to do everything in our possible to keep that freedom. And as long as we're willing to do that, we'll have a great country here.
There you go. Bob, thanks again.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Glad to have you with us on the show this morning.
Okay.
I'm Dave Adams, and that concludes the show for today. If you would like to watch it again or missed it, you can go to our website, Operation Eagles Wings, that's plural, OperationEaglesWings.us, or go to YouTube and do a search for Operation Eagles Wings, and you'll find all of the shows. There's 3 player windows at the bottom of the page of that website, and this show will be posted up on one of those. Tomorrow morning, we are going to be at the Veterans Center in Bend, Oregon. We've got 2 guests. For the first part of the show, we're going to be talking to Carl Borovec, who is pastor at Celebration Church in Bend, about some of the things happening there. They have a school, a ministry school, that we're going to be talking to Carl about. And then we have a gentleman from the Vet Center who we're going to be talking to about some of the issues that returning servicemen are facing with, and we're very much looking forward to that interview. As always, all of the interviews you can watch live and also watch on tape delay replay. So we look forward to that. Also, we are looking for guests for this show, both from a Christian standpoint for the Jesus Network, which is 7 to 7:30, and the Eagle Live, which is 7:30 to 8. So the first half of the show is the Christian part of the show, and the second half is the veterans part of the show. And we're looking for guests for both of those. If you'd like to be on the show, you can send me an email at dave@evm1.info. dave@evm1.info, and we'd love to talk to you about being on the show. No charge, and we do have the ability to take the show on the road. Today we are broadcasting or webcasting live from Life Song Books here in Prineville, Oregon. And Kim Denfield, we really appreciate the opportunity to use your store and be here, and we'll talk about the offerings you have in the show on future programs. For now, I'm Dave Adams. Be blessed. Have a great day. Operation Eagle's Wings, honoring all who served and leaving no one behind. Have a good morning.